Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive. We're tackling hemp-derived cannabinoids in Tennessee today. Like Delta 8, Delta 10, all those. We're going straight to the source, the Tennessee Department of Agriculture's guidelines. And wow, there's some stuff in here I bet you didn't know.
It's true. This document,
Yeah.
it lays out all the rules for making, selling, even using these products here in Tennessee. And it's honestly more complicated than you'd think.
Yeah, see, the first thing that jumped out at me, it says Tennessee doesn't make you register hemp-derived cannabinoid products. That's wild, right? Like most regulated stuff, you got to go through all that.
It's different.
Yeah.
And, I mean, less paperwork sounds great at first, but think about what that means. Anyone could just start making and selling this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So suddenly you've got worries about, like, is the quality good? Are the products consistent? And then there's the big one. Is it even safe for people?
So less hassle for the folks making it, but maybe more risk for everyone else.
That's the balance regulators are always trying to strike. And just because they're not making everyone register doesn't mean it's a free-for-all. There are still rules, believe me.
Oh, right. Like, you can't just buy this stuff anywhere, can you?
No, in Tennessee, it's behind the counter, always.
Why's that?
They're trying to control access. No impulse buys at the checkout. You have to talk to someone, prove you're old enough. Just putting up a sign that says 21 and up isn't going to cut it. Think, like how they keep cigarettes locked up. Same kind of deal.
So no grabbing Delta 8 gummies with your coffee at the gas station then?
Not quite. It shows how careful the state's being about all this, even without that registration thing.
Okay, so no registration to make this stuff, but rules on where you can sell it. What about making sure the products are actually safe and that the label's telling the truth? How do they check that?
Testing. That's the key. Tennessee says every single hemp-derived cannabinoid product has to be tested. Got to make sure it has what it says it does and how strong it is.
What kind of testing are we talking here?
It's pretty high-tech, actually. They use this method, it identifies all the different compounds in the product, right down to the good stuff. It's especially important because this isn't just about, regular THC. We're talking a whole bunch of cannabinoids, including this one, THCA. And get this, THCA, when you heat it up, it turns into THC.
Whoa, hold on. So even if something says it's low in THC, this test is going to make sure there's no sneaky THCA ready to transform into THC when you're, like, baking with it or something.
Exactly. It's all about giving people the right information so they can decide for themselves. Although, there's a little catch right now.
Uh-oh. What's that?
So they've got these specific testing standards, right? Outlined them all nice and neat. But they're kind of on pause right now.
Wait, seriously? So does that mean anyone can sell anything right now?
No, not at all. You still got to do the testing. It's just that. They're fine-tuning the specifics, you could say. Probably means the Department of Agriculture, they're figuring out exactly how to put these rules into action and how to make sure people actually follow them.
Gotcha. So, testing. Still happening. Exact rules. Slight makeover in progress. Good to know. Now, speaking of specifics, I saw this number. 25 milligrams. Over and over. What's so special about that?
The 25 milligram rule. This one's important. So for anything you eat, like gummies or whatever, that's the most total hemp-derived cannabinoids it can have per serving.
Per serving. Okay. So let's say I've got gummies and ECH1 has, 10 milligrams of Delta 8 and then another 15 milligrams of, what was that other one? THCP. My good.
All right. So 10 milligrams Delta 8 plus 15 of the THCP. That puts you right at 25 milligrams, cutting it close.
So even a little bit over, and it's a no-go in Tennessee.
Exactly. That's why they're so strict on the labels.
What should we be looking out for?
Okay, two things, big and clear. Total cannabinoids in the whole package, then how much is an ECH serving. Milligrams for both, got to be right there on the label.
No more hiding behind tricky wording, huh? People need those numbers. Okay, so we've got registration, where you can buy it, the testing, those milligrams. What ELSE is in these guidelines?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. Tennessee's got a rule about how these products look, especially the edibles. You ready for this?
Hit me.
No gummies shaped like animals or cartoon characters.
What? Seriously? No gummy bears? What's next? Are they going to come for my gummy worms?
I mean, RS just animals in cartoons for now. But the point is, they don't want this stuff accidentally being marketed to kids,
Makes sense. It's not for them. Responsible packaging and all that.
Exactly. And here's the thing, shapes are easy, right? Labeling on those tiny little bottles of tinctures and whatnot, that's what they're still figuring out. Trying to cram all that info on there, whole other challenge.
I can imagine. Like writing a novel on a postage stamp. Speaking of fitting things in, what about restaurants? If I'm feeling adventurous, can I have a Delta 8 dessert with my meal? legally?
You're getting into the really tricky stuff now. It's a yes and no situation.
Here we go.
Okay, so the people actually serving you, they don't need a special license to sell you a hemp-derived cannabinoid product. But the restaurant itself, if they want to sell it, they got to be licensed for it.
Oh, so you can't just stick a Delta 8 brownie on the menu that easily, huh?
Nope. Rules and regulations. And to make it even more interesting, you know how the Department of Agriculture handles all this. Well, alcohol is a whole different story. They don't touch that.
Hold on. So a place could be totally legal to sell me a Delta 8 gummy, but if I want a glass of Rhine with it, all bets are off.
It's possible. That's the kind of gray area we're talking about. They'll probably need the Alcoholic Beverage Commission to step in and clear some of this up.
So if you do want that Delta 8 dessert, maybe double check with the restaurant about their licenses first. Don't want them getting in trouble on my account.
Always the best policy. Now, you know how you mentioned those gummies being next to the chewing tobacco? It reminded me of something from that Department of Agriculture document. It's something else.
How?
They end the whole thing with a quote from the book of Genesis.
Genesis, the Bible. Okay, now I have to know.
Right. It's wild. He goes, "Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the face, which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat."
Okay, so like plants are food, basically. But what's that got to do with the Delta 8 gummies and all these rules?
$1 billion question, isn't it? But putting that quote right there with all these regulations, it feels like they're saying something bigger. Hemp, it's natural, a gift from the earth.
Yeah. So are they saying we should treat it differently because it comes from nature versus something made in a lab?
That's the conversation starter right there. Makes you really think.
For sure. And we're going to keep thinking about it because this is a big one. But that's a topic for another time.
It really does make you think, you know? It's like, on one hand, you've got hemp, been around forever. People used it for clothes, food, even medicine, way back when.
Right, totally.
But now we're talking about these super concentrated extracts. It's like we're discovering new stuff about this plant all the time, pushing the limits of what we thought we knew.
Totally uncharted territory, right? Figuring out what it can do, what the risks are. And the rules are trying to keep up, but it's tough.
And that's what makes that Genesis thing so interesting. Like, if we say, okay, hemp, that's natural, right? Earth provides it, we can use it. Does that change how we make the rules?
That's deep. We wrestle with that a lot, even with other stuff from nature, like kratom. Some people use it for pain or energy. It's a plant, but some states are like, nope, illegal.
Don't even get me started on mushrooms, the ones with, well, some research says they could help with depression, anxiety, things like that, but good luck getting everyone on the same page about those.
It's always a tug of war when nature gets involved. Tradition, what scientists are finding, and then the government trying to make sense of it all.
And the money part doesn't help. This hemp industry is huge, and states want to make money off it, but also keep things safe. It's a mess.
No easy answers, that's for sure. We'll probably be talking about this for years. But okay, let's get back to Tennessee, our guidelines here. We talked about a lot, the registration, how they sell it, testing, labels, even the gummy shapes. What else should people know from all this?
One more thing, and it's a biggie, but people forget about it. Who's making sure the rules are actually followed? Enforcement.
Yeah, rules on paper are one thing.
Exactly. This Department of Agriculture document, it says who's got to do what. Like they're in charge of making sure the labels are right, packaging, all that.
So they're the milligram police and the gummy bear crackdown squad.
Pretty much. But then local cops, they'll be checking stores, making sure the behind-the-counter rules being followed, carding people, all that.
It'll take a village to wrangle this whole industry in.
Oh, for sure. New markets, they always cause this kind of chaos. Regulators, businesses, even the people buying it, we're all just figuring it out as we go.
And speaking of figuring it out, that Genesis thing really got to me. Makes you think bigger picture, huh? Like, where did this stuff come from, and should that change how we think about it?
That's the question, isn't it? It's not just about what's legal or not. It's about how we see nature, what it gives us, and how much we should mess with all that.
And honestly, we're just scratching the surface of this conversation. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. We're still in the early days of all this hemp stuff, right? Like, we know a little, but...
Oh, we're just getting started. The research is like babies taking their first steps. What we think we know today, gone tomorrow. New discoveries popping up all the time.
So how do people even keep up?
That's the thing. You got to be careful about where you get your information from.
Right, like, don't trust everything you see on the internet.
Exactly. The Tennessee Department of Agriculture's website, that's a good one. They've got a whole section just for this stuff. All those guidelines we talked about, any updates, it'll be there.
And I bet there are, like, groups, people who are really into this, right? They'd have good info, too.
Oh, yeah, tons. The Hemp Industries Association, the National Hemp Association, those are big ones. They're in the thick of it, trying to make the rules make sense, fighting for what's right. Their website's definitely worth a look.
So next time you see those Delta-8 gummies at the counter, or someone's talking about the latest and greatest hemp product, remember what we talked about today.
Ask those questions. Read the labels. Do your homework.
Knowledge is power, as they say.
And don't let anyone tell you those big questions, the ones about where this stuff comes from, how we should treat it. Don't let those go. Those are important.
It's bigger than just, is this legal? It's about how we see the world, right?
Yeah.
Nature, science, all of it.
Exactly. And those conversations, we got to have them.
Right.
Respectfully, obviously. But the more we talk, the better we understand. And this whole hemp thing, it's changing so fast, we got to keep learning together.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So, to wrap things up today, if you take anything away from this deep dive, let it be this. Stay curious, ask questions, and stay informed. That's all we've got for you today. Thanks for joining us.